Hello team, welcome back. And before moving further in the Git course, let's discuss the key terminology of Git. During this training, we will use this word multiple times. Git repository. So first we need to understand what is Git repository. Git repository contains the files, history, config managed by the Git. So this is a directory which will be present on your local box and it will contain all the files, all the history and all the configuration which is managed by the Git in respect of the project for which you are using the Git. So let's take an example. So suppose this is the project on which you are working, right? So we are going to mention the project name like project A, and we are using Git to manage the version of this project. What will happen? Git will create a directory called .git in this project. This .git directory is called the Git repository. And what are the operation you are performing on the Git? These all operation will be recorded in this .git directory. This .git directory will be present inside your project directory, as this directory is starting with the dot, so this is a hidden directory. If you are using the Windows operating system and you want to see what is present in this directory, then you need to open the feature which will show you the hidden directory in the directory, right? But if you are a Mac OS user or you are Linux user or Unix user, you can go to the project directory and can execute a command ls-a to show the hidden file, so that you will get this .git directory. But this .git directory will start showing or present in your project once you will configure the Git in your project. So all the files, the history or the configuration which is managed by the Git, that will present inside the Git repo. So suppose you are working on a project called my project, which is present inside a directory projects, right? And what you will do, you configure this project as a Git. It means you are starting using Git to manage the version controlling of this project. At the same time, you will initialize the Git in this project. Git will create a hidden directory called .git in your project. That .git directory will call the Git repository, and it will contain all the information regarding to the version change and the file modification, tracking of the files, pointer of the files modification, and everything which is related to the that hidden directory. That directory which is named .git is called the Git repository. Please remember, this is a very important directory. If you will delete the .git directory, then you will lose your complete tracking, right? The local file system will lose the complete tracking if you will delete the .git directory of your project. Let's try to understand the stage of the Git. Git work in the three stages. First is the working directory, then we call the staging area, and the last is Git directory. Let's understand these terms one by one. First, let's try to understand the working directory. So if as a developer or as a DevOps engineer, you have worked on any project or you have seen the code structure of any project, so what is the common code structure of the project? We have the parent directory, which may be called with the name of the project. Then we have the subdirectory, which are for the modules. Then we have the submodules directory, and we have the code files in these. So that parent directory which can contain the complete code of your project, that is called the working directory, where you have your live files. It means all the files on which you are writing the code, that is contained in that directory. So the main directory, the parent directory of your project is called the working directory, and it is also known as a untracked area in the Git, right? Because that area is not tracked with the Git until unless you are making the changes after your modification. We will understand these things in details once we will move further in this course. The second area is called the staging area. Staging area means when Git starts tracking of your changes, right? And saving these changes in the files. That area is called the staging area. So whenever you will make some changes in your working directory and you will perform some Git operation, these files or the status of your working directory is saved in the Git repository, and that is being called as a staging area, because now all the changes you are making in your directory is basically tracked by the Git. And the last is the Git repository or the Git directory. This is the same file which we have discussed, right, which is a .git repo. This is also called the local repo. This directory will contain all the changes, all the records, all the history which is being done as a part of the Git in your project. So we have the three area: working directory, which means untracked; staging directory, which means tracked; and Git directory, which will contain all the records of the tracking. Right now it may seems abstract, but once we will start working with the Git, right, I will show you each and everything in the real. The another term which you will hear very frequently is the remote repository, that is also called the GitHub. Remote repository means once you will store your code on some host service like GitHub or the internal servers. Whenever you are writing the code, you are making the code on your local machine. What happen if your local machine will destroy? The complete work which you have done in last few days or the few months, that is being destroyed, right? So the solution to keep that work secure is the remote repository. You develop your code on your local machine, you use the Git, and you push the code on the remote repository. Remote repository means that is a remote location where you and your teammates are pushing the code in the common projects. The another term which you will hear very frequently is the branch. Branch in a Git is a way to keep the developing and coding a new feature or modification to the software, still not affecting the main part of the project. So once we will learn about the branching, I will explain this term in very detail. But right now you can understand that Git will work as a tree, and the branch in the Git is simple to the branch in the tree, which will have their own feature, which will have their own leaves and own fruits, but that is the part of the main tree. And in any case, if the branch will fall, the existence of the tree will still intact. The fall of any branch will not impact the main tree root. So right now you can understand this, that is a tree which we can call Git, and on the branch of that tree is the branch like a tree, and anytime we can create a new branch and anytime we can cut off a branch. So these are the few key terms which you will hear in this course: the remote repository, local repository, working area, staging area, and branches. So thank you team, see you in the coming lecture.